Hello, me, Julian again. This is part four of the video game series. I don't know if there's gonna be an edit there. I might just done the hand movement for no reason, but just stick with me here. But yeah, part four, talk about video games. There are other parts that you're seeing this video first for some reason. YouTube algorithm can be crazy, you know, whatever. But yeah, today, going off the last video, we said we were gonna talk about God of War this time, and so we will. To be clear, I'm not talking about the original God of War series, one through three. I did not play those games. Those ones, not because I don't like them or like that kind of style of game. They're pretty cool, but I just didn't play them, so I can't speak on them. I'm talking about the most recent ones, God of War, not the first one. I guess God of War 4 in the series. It's the new one with Atreus, right? Because the little kid, boy, Norse gods, etc. That one. And God of War Ragnarok. I've not finished God of War Ragnarok, but I did watch a playthrough. So I have outside of like literally playing the game, I have a pretty decent opinion. I can give a pretty good opinion about the game, and I know the whole story for the most part. I watched the videos back when the game first came out, but I still saw the stuff, so I remember the general movements. And I played all the way through God of War 1, front to back, beat all the bosses, good stuff. Except for the Valkyries. I didn't bother doing the Valkyries and have it in me. With that being said, though, I will be honest. This video is going to be straight spoilers. If you care about the story in these games, don't watch this. I know, I shouldn't tell you not to watch the video, but I'd be very disingenuous if I said anything besides I'm going to spoil the game in this video. I'm going to talk about the story in this video. I'm gonna talk about stuff that happens. And if you don't want to know stuff, you shouldn't watch this video. All right. Now that everyone's had the chance to either stay or leave, let's begin. So, it's kind of tough to know where to start. God of War is fairly popular. I guess you could say it's a AAA game. Like it's got that official support. Yeah, I can't. It's hard to know where to start with these kinds of things. I'll start with this. Gameplay slash general graphics. All those little technical things. Gameplay wise, great combat. I am a guy who loves that close quarters combat in all things, movies, shows, games especially. Love that. Close quarters combat is peak enjoyment for me. So you can imagine my excitement when I find out that the newest God of War games is more or less specializing in like you got the hands, Um, yeah, it's a great. It's very fluid, intuitive combat that allows pretty much for you to play however you like. Well, however you like in a sense. I mean, you're playing as Kratos, so you'll play however Kratos fights. But in that world, you can kind of like approach combat however you like, what abilities you use, kind of like which armors you want to use. Like, do you want to specialize in like using a lot of strength and like just kind of mashing light attacks to death, or do you want to use like more abilities more often? It's not like super built variety, unlike with like FromSoft games where it's like almost entirely built into like, oh, you play how you want to play for the most part. This is not like that, but they do try to do that, and especially in Ragnarok. I was supposed to say Ragnarok too. That didn't make any sense. But especially in Ragnarok, they kind of emphasize that the build variety as part of like the core values. I would definitely say in Ragnarok, not Ragnarok. Oh my God. In God of War 1, I wouldn't. Yeah, they don't really try to get you to like. There's different armors that have different sets of armor have like special skills that the bonuses they give you. Like I remember, like one in particular that I liked was the one where it's like if you dodge at like the last second, like it slows down time. You can attack in the slow time or whatever. It's pretty cool. And like they have like different armor sets that do little things like that that like boost you in one way or another. You can kind of choose what you want, but for the most part, no matter what, you more or less fight the same way. Now, obviously, there's different differences in terms of like abilities you will and won't use at different times, and like what is going to be your bread and butter combo, or what moves you think are like more effective than others. But at the end of the day, for the most part, you're fighting with the axe, you're fighting with the blades. So, but yeah, that's the gameplay, graphics, spectacular, story, amazing. I'll, like I said, it's gonna be mostly a story talking thing, at least for yeah. That's probably what it's gonna be mostly about, talking about the story. 'Cause I mean, I'm realizing on video number 4 that talking about gameplay is not easy. It is actually quite difficult without visuals. Because if you're not looking at the game, it just sounds like a whole bunch of nonsense. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the story is very good in both games. I feel. I have a friend who feels that the second game isn't as good in terms of story, and I'll kind of talk about that when I get to Ragnarok. But yeah, story's really good. Um, I think the general, I wouldn't say gameplay loop, but I just think overall Ragnarok is really, really good. I believe it won Game of the Year. I think it definitely won. It definitely got a lot of recognition. That is for sure. I don't know if it won any awards directly, but I know for a fact that it got a lot of recognition for being like really, really, really good and a great revival of the series. Like the character development between the original God of War, Kratos, and God of War version of Kratos, the bearded Kratos, non-bearded Kratos. There you go. Bearded Kratos, a lot better character than no beard Kratos. Not to say that they're like there's not character development in the originals. It's just that as a character, as a person or God, I guess, demigod, I guess, he's better, like ethically. Original, he was just a mass murderer, effectively. Now he's like a mass murderer with morals. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I liked God of War 1. I liked the setup. I liked Atreus. I think he was like a good. I think yeah, the family thing. I think it brought it all together. It's like that, like it's like the connective tissue that really like it kind of like obviously it's like a Kratos story. So he's got to go murder some gods. He's fighting a lot of people. He's being mistreated again, so now he has to get violent, all that stuff. But I think the story also benefits from kind of like you can boil it down to like a father and son journey, kind of like you can kind of compare it to like one of those like mini story games where it's kind of like you're kind of it's less so about the gameplay, it's more about like you're experiencing the journey that these two people are going through, kind of like a book, but the interactive experience of and immersion that comes along with playing a video game. But yes, I thought that was a nice touch. General story overbeat said that before we get to Ragnarok, which could be, I think, the majority of this video a little bit. If I'm thinking about the story, I would say I like the progression of Kratos and Atreus' relationship. I think the beginning part kind of being like he's like an aloof father, right? And it's kind of like he just doesn't understand how to be like properly emotional, even though he wants good things for his son. He's just like not good at talking at all. But yeah, like that beginning section where there's like a lot of tension where Atreus kind of hates his dad and his son, and Kratos is kind of like, I just don't get him. He seems like a I would say a weird kid, but it's kind of like I want to connect with him, but I can't, and like I'm not emotionally developed enough to like express how I really feel. So I'm just gonna be Kratos. I think that it fleshes out the character more. It makes his emotions kind of fit on his sleeve, or I guess you could say where his chains used to be. Like kind of shows him. I like Atreus' kind of coming of age story where he's like and you play the games or you didn't, but like where he's a young boy, he's growing up. His mom just died. He needs to fulfill his mother's last request with his dad, who he doesn't like. But he's like, his mom's always sworn by his dad, so he's kind of trying to give him a chance. But he's also failing him, but he's also surprising him in good ways. It's just a nice progression. I think that, the one particular scene I remember in particular in the first game was the situation with Kratos kind of going into the light, kind of seeing the Sea of Souls, and like he kind of connects with Freya, I believe was her. No, no, no. Can't remember what her name was. The giant lady, the wife. But like he's trying to get back in contact with her, and then Atreus is like left outside. He's like had to like kill tons of elves as they were attacking him because Kratos wasn't coming back, and so he pulled them out and whatever. It's like it kind of shows like I guess you could say it's like him growing up fast, kind of. You could say in a way, kind of like the idea that like he feels like he can't depend on Kratos, where he like does things. Oh, not like he just does things, but kind of like he can't. They're not partners. Well, I guess you could say they're not partners, given their father and son. But you could say like there's levels of connection between family members, and so I guess you could say like they start off here, and then throughout the story they get closer and closer and closer, and Atreus starts going crazy. So even though Kratos is still close, Atreus falls away, and then they come back together, and then like this by the end of the game, and around the elf point, right? They're getting closer, and then from there it was kind of like they distanced a little bit, where Atreus felt a certain kind of way. I mean, about kind of being left to die, sort of. Which I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be kind of mad about that too. Like came all the way here, you're over here going in to try to go talk to dead souls and talk to my mother, and I'm just over here like on a killing spree because I'm on my own. Either we do it or I die. And yeah, and there's definitely like a whole bunch of different moments like that throughout the story. Like there was a part where Thor's kid, where the just like stabbed that guy, one of the Thor's kids in the throat, and then kicked him into stabbed him in the throat. They kicked him into that chasm, and I was like, you just see like you just see this coming, like at the knife. And I imagine Kratos kind of let it happen, kind of in hopes that like that Kratos would hold himself back. But I'm like, nah, that boy was on demon time at that time. At that time, he was like God mode. Nasty work, nasty work. But yeah, there's various moments throughout the game, standouts. I think the ending's very interesting with like the whole your whole life's been written out for you. We already saw this coming. All right, we knew about this. We were down in our caves where we disappeared, which we found out they didn't really disappear for real. In the second game, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, to get rid of the ashes. I liked not Ymir. What's his name? Not Bolter. Dad. I can't remember. It'll come to me. I'm sure it'll come to me. It's Kratos and Mimir. There we go. I knew Ymir sounded close. I was like Ymir, but that's not quite right because I know what Ymir is. Ymir is the first giant, like the big frost giant or whatever. Apparently Odin kills him. We find out. Oh, we don't find out about that. I mean, I knew that ahead of time, but second game. But Mimir, yeah, Mimir, great touch, perfect comedy relief. He's a cool storyteller. He makes the whole journeying around the place interesting, and he's just kind of cool. Well, he's like a nerdy kind of cool, which I like. Nerd here. I mean, I've made, making 5 videos of me talking about video games for an hour each. So, it takes a certain kind of person to do that ever. Yeah, yeah. What else? What else? The dwarves. I like them. Brock and Sindri, cool, cool additional side characters. Final fight with Baldur, Freya. Um, I think it's a good spectacle fight. I like uh, Baldur's fight was kind of difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say like, oh, it wasn't that hard. It was kind of difficult. But again, I play games on the hardest difficulty because what do I look like to you? Think I can't do it? I can definitely do it. So, um, yeah, I beat the game on the hardest difficulty. Boulder fight pretty cool. Freya's involvement, like the way it's kind of like Freya's like overly protective of her son, and so she makes him invincible, but it has like a side effect of it literally makes him unfeeling. So like he can't feel pain, he can't feel cold, he can't feel hot. Like he walking through life like nothing, literally, and he can't die. It's like, dang, that's rough. That's rough. And your mother won't even kill you. Dang, that's really rough. And then you got the thing with the Atreus. You get like chest checks Kratos' son. He should have never done that. Once he did that, his fate was sealed. Should have never done that. Well, besides the fact that like he got rid of his invincibility, but he should have never done that because that meant that Kratos was gonna murder him. But yeah, it was a good thing. I like the development between, well, not development, but I like the Baldur Freya like story unweaving where it's like, oh, Freya's Baldur's mom. Freya made Baldur invincible. Baldur wants to punch a hole through his mom because she made him invincible, and now he feels nothing. How sad. And also he's insane, which is a wholly different problem, I guess. Um, but yeah, I like that. I think the ending where they have to kill Baldur because like he's gonna kill Freya, and they're more. I guess you could say they're more fond of Freya, and in a sense, you could say like they could just let it rock. But on the other hand, it's kind of like he couldn't help himself because it's like we care about Freya. Freya's a good person. She has a good heart, and Baldur's just kind of evil. So it's just kind of like, well, I'm not gonna let you kill my friend. That's what snaps his neck. And then Freya getting mad about it, and she's like, "That's my son. How dare you? I'd rather die so he could live." Me personally, I would have killed her right there. I would save myself the problems in the second game. But I guess Freya comes in handy in the second game. But nonetheless, all right. I think that was a nice touch. And I think that's about it. Overall, really good game. It won awards probably. Definitely got nominated for awards. Absolutely. And was so good that was deserving of a second game because I mean, think about how successful it was. Like there was no way they weren't going to give it a second game. Because the fact that the story is just not over. Like factually, it just wasn't like a complete story arc. They didn't get a second game. So the opening of the second game, I think, is a nice start. Where it's kind of like we pick up right where we left off in a sense, but not literally. Where Freya is basically attacking both of them, and really more so trying to kill Kratos. Doesn't really care about Atreus in a sense, because he didn't. Atreus never did anything to try to kill Baldur for real, but Kratos definitely killed Baldur like that without a doubt. Sue, I think that that is why like she doesn't really pay attention to him. I do also find it interesting that Kratos doesn't want to just kill Freya. I mean, I guess it's kind of like that going on that line with the idea that like he's moved on from like this whole like just mindlessly murderizing people who either make him mad or get in his way. Like he's like, I've turned over a new leaf. Murder is not the wave anymore. Me personally, I'm not letting her disrespect me by that by stabbing me in the chest. This is not gonna happen. But that's just me. I think that section was interesting. Not overly gameplay, but that's fine. Story setup. The wolf dies. Sad. The soul comes out. Sad. Twins are everywhere. Sad. Kratos continues to not be the greatest emotional guy. I mean, he's better. It seems like they're like on better terms. Like they're a lot closer. But you can tell that like I would say there's a little bit of distance, but I guess you could say it's like a growing up thing where it's kind of like Kratos hasn't fully become a good dad, which makes sense. And it took a while. He's starting to he's only had really a couple of years. Like you think about since God of War, that's the first game, but the game right before this one, right? You say for a couple of years, not so much like Atreus gets like super old, but just enough that he's like a bit older and therefore a bit more adultish. It's all that time to like get your act together. Um, yeah. What happens after that? Oh, Atreus turns into a bear, and he gets. I don't want to say he should have gotten one shot. He should have got that. Wah, and just broke the bear's jaw and then started choking him out. But gameplay wise, you gotta have the boss fight. Ugh. But yeah, I like the fact that you start off with the chains, the chaos blades, and the frost axe. I think that's a great point because it obviously games have to restart before you start the game, right? That's just like back. You can't start off from your peak strength, or else that's a scale, which would have been a lot. Also, it's a separate game, so it just wouldn't work that way. But that being said, though, like that certain things keep over where like some abilities that like came along with like over. Ooh, sorry. Certain abilities that came along with the fact that you and Atreus are getting closer, so now Atreus can be better with you in combat. I think those. I'm pretty sure they'll stay along as well. Like some of them, like some of the little core abilities. So I think that's a nice touch as well to kind of like there's still like a game that happened prior to this that is important, but you know we're moving forward, getting better. So I think that was a nice touch. Just getting rid of like the armors, the extra strength or whatever. I know there's like I watched a video and they were talking about something about how there's like a in-game explanation as to why they're weaker now. Actually, both games really, because for like both sets of games, where the Greek pantheon they explain it that like when all the gods die and like all the things are gone, like you're in a different pantheon. The powers don't come with you. Like that was just the end of that. And then with God of War 1, I think it's like a time thing. It's like, oh, you guys haven't been really fighting. You guys have been kind of just hiding away, buying your time, whatever, for the longest time. So that's why now you don't really have like the same level of strength as you used to have, or whatever. Something like that. Like degradation over time, kind of thing. Which I think is a nice touch. Um, Going on from there. Getting section, you get the bear, you bring Trey's back, and it's like, how'd you turn into a bear? He's like, I don't know, I just felt bad. Okay, stuff. But that was good. And then we get to the house. The proper opening scene. Everybody's hanging out at the house. It's getting a little stormy outside. It's kind of crazy. Side of a mirror, trying to go to sleep. Whoosh, top of the house, crash. I don't know how to say it like that, but and Kratos and Atreus. I don't know. I don't think Atreus comes outside. I think it's just Kratos. Just goes outside. Who are you? Who is it? And he flashes he sets the hammer. It's like that's my guy, but he's a little chubby now. This is definitely between Endgame and Infinity War for sure. With extra chubbiness, definitely came from the mid game breaks, mid movie breaks. Um, but yeah, they come inside and they're talking. He's like, I got mead. It's like, okay. Brings him inside. They talk a little bit. It's like, are you reasonable? I am reasonable when needed. Wink. And whatever. And then Odin pops in. Now, I Odin. I want to talk about Odin as a character. Interesting. They basically make him a weak, frail old guy who talks like a mafia boss. I love it. It's so good. It's like it fits. Like I was watching a video about it. They say it fits oddly well. Again, it's after I watched the playthrough, which I already had an opinion that I thought he was pretty cool. But I think it really does fit pretty well because the idea of Odin is like obviously he's powerful, but it's also like he's a schemer. Like he's just on his plan and stuff. Like he's always, you know, how do I put it? I think is really nice. I think that unlike everybody has their own little dialect and like the way they talk or whatever, and I just think the way he talks is pretty cool. And it kind of fits in line with like that feeling like boss guy who's like he seems unassuming, but he's like behind the eyes. There's a lot of darkness inside or whatever. Yeah, but his entrance, I'm like, oh snap, it's Odin, and he starts talking. He's like, "You want peace? Let's get some peace, guys." And like, I was watching a video about like explanations about his character and like kind of analyzing him, that story, and like, it's like after watching that video, I'm playing the game again. Well, playing the game for the first time. And I'm like, man, like he is constantly throwing shots and being like passive aggressive. Like one thing I'll say about this version of Odin, this man knows how to get under your skin and be annoying. Like the way he addresses Mimir, he's like, "Oh, you think I didn't know about the little prisoner you stole?" He's like, "Well, they didn't try to hide it. They literally just took his head. Like anytime you go back there, you notice that he doesn't have a head." Also, he murdered as he said, your closer, so to say. So the closer would also know, like, oh, Amir's there, or whatever. But yeah, very. I think it's pretty good. I've heard people allegedly don't like the whole. Why doesn't he talk like he's like why doesn't he talk like a Norse guy or whatever? I'm like, it's a video game. So especially in disbelief, maybe Odin just talks like that. He's like, all right, whatever. But yeah, I like him. I like him. Thor. Oh, and his design very nice. I think the Frail design works best from one because of like the voice acting. Like if he's gonna sound like a mafia boss, then he has to look unassuming. It would defeat the purpose. If he's some big hulking strong guy, and he's then also talking all shady like we should cut a deal. Why don't you work for me, kid? Like, nah. It doesn't work with a big tough guy. Big tough guy doesn't make deals, at least visually speaking. Obviously, in real life, anybody can make deals, but whatever. Um, Thor, he's fat. Also, he's a genocider. Gladly too. That's wild stuff. Um, yeah, I think he's cool. Story beats, well, story beats as we go along. Coming off that first introduction, right? Odin offers peace. Everybody's in shock. He's like, peace? Because obviously, coming off the first game, especially, it's like we hear about how Odin is like the worst person ever, especially throughout all of Ragnarok. The whole game is basically being like, oh, Odin is a horrible, horrible, horrible being, and the world is much better when he is not alive. Trust us. Which makes it more crazy that Atreus even questions it. He's like, I'm gonna get one over on Odin. No, that means conniving and evil. The whole point is that he's evil, like incarnate. Like he will pull one over on you because he thinks maybe you might betray him. You're not gonna catch one over on him, but nonetheless, right? Yeah, this is a spoilers thing I was talking about. So I mean, obviously, if you got to this part, then you don't care. But yes, I just need that to be clear that yes, these are spoilers. So don't be like, how could you have spoiled it? I said it, I would be spoiling. There you go. Anyway, yeah, that's Odin. Uh, Thor, like I said, fat, genocidal, but cool character development. I think the relationship between Odin and Thor as it develops throughout the game. No complaints at all. Um, Moving on. First fight, Thor, Kratos, crazy first proper boss. I like to start up with like Thor is get straight to the business. You can't get your axe back because Thor is keeping that pressure on you, not taking his foot off your hand. You gotta get busy. It's a fairly easy fight for the most part. First two phases at least. Phase 1, you use your fist, you beat the guy easy enough. Second phase gets a little bit more difficult, starts using his thing, starts using his hammer a little bit. I love, I love the choice to have, like, you're fighting Thor, and he kills you, and then he full psychopath tendencies goes like, you don't get to die unless I let you die, and I'm not letting you die, not right now at least. It brings Kratos back to life to continue beating him up. Peak gameplay, like things like that in video games, are very nice. Like using the game medium as a twist to the game, that is what we call good storytelling slash just good games. Like when you make the fact that this is a video game work in your favor, yes, yes indeed. Yeah, I do like that touch thing. I'll say when I was fighting him, because again I'm past this point. When I was fighting him, I tried really hard not to die. Mind you, I'm playing on God of War difficulty, so I'm like on the hardest difficulty. And I'm like, I'm not gonna die. So I'm dodging hits. I'm getting tagged by little stuff. Like, oh my god, it's getting bad. And then he knocks down. I'm like, Everyone's like, yes. And I'm like, because he still beat me up as bad. Yeah, third part with like the axe and the hammer, they hit each other and they have a little conversation, and then they go whoosh, and then the frozen lightning bolt hits. Once again, nice. Yeah, the first fight ending, whatever. Atreus immediately being weird. Oh, and the fact that Atreus was secretly hunting for what's his name? Tyr, god of war in Norse mythology. Yeah, it kind of already like immediately sets up like this idea that like, oh, Atreus is like his own man, kind of like he's becoming independent. Like he's learned a lot from Kratos, and so now is like preparing. I would say preparing to like leave him, so to say. Like at least not in like the traditional sense of like, oh, he's like, oh, I want to move out, Dad. Like it's not like that, but it's kind of like he's getting too big for Kratos. I guess is the way to put it. It sounds kind of weird, but it's like he wants to do things his way on his own, and by being, I won't say under the rule, but being under the care of Kratos is like hindering him from hitting his goals. So that he's kind of like going around Kratos to do things that he feels are the right things to do, which shows that he's getting older, he's becoming more mature. And now he's like, hey, I think this is the right choice for me, so this is what I want to do, which is nice. From there, what happens? Basically, they're like, oh, we can't live here anymore. Black and Sentry come back in. They go live in the I was about to say Erd Tree. Is that it? World Tree? World Tree. The tree thing. The between realms. They're living between realms. Then they go get Tyr. Tyr comes back. Turns out Tyr hates war. Kratos is like, man, somebody who gets it. No more war. And so Atreus is a little bit disappointed because he's kind of like, oh, why aren't you like that guy? Like, not to say that we were going to go to war, but we could have gone to war. And Kratos is just like, man, I've been saying from the get-go that we shouldn't go to war. I'm glad somebody else is like, hey, we actually don't need to go to war, Yeah. The middle of the game, a lot of things happen. We got Atreus basically started doing Atreus missions. Atreus is like I'd say he's trying to go to war, but I would say Atreus views the situation as like, I guess you could see it like as a kid, quote unquote, where he's like, oh, this guy's a bad guy. Odin's a bad guy. I don't know who. I haven't found like my purpose, right? Tyr can't really help me with my purpose, so I'm gonna go start talking to people. And so he first starts off by talking about Freya by himself. Freya almost kills him, but then she decides not to, and she leaves him alone because he's the last giant. Boom. Tyr's no help. So then eventually it leads him to talking to Odin. He hangs out with Odin for a little bit. It's a whole thing. Odin's really nice about it, even though it's very clear. I mean, story wise, it's like also obvious. Like as a player character, you're supposed to think that Atreus is being stupid because it's just like the entire team of people is saying, "Don't go hang out with Odin. You're not gonna trick Odin. Odin's gonna trick you, and you're gonna have a bad time." And I mean, it kind of ends up being this way a little bit. Like, I wouldn't say like there's no point where Atreus like really gets tricked, but it does seem like Odin's sinking his claws deeper and deeper. He's like, okay, Atreus is starting off from like a group of people who like have actively told him that he should not hang out with me. So my first reaction to him doing anything wrong or when he shows up, if I want to use him, cannot be to act the way I really want to act. I gotta like make him feel comfortable, or else he will just leave and then go back to helping companion against me. Which is a good point. Again, Mafia boss Odin. He's making moves. He's making big moves. Um, yeah, I don't like that Atreus did that. It's like it's why the story is supposed to happen that way, but it's just like shouldn't have done that from the very beginning. Um, yeah, the middle section is fine. Going to other realms, meeting up with the resistance, meeting Freya's brother, Freyr, um, the resistance. I think. Oh, and then there's the part where Atreus stays with Odin for a little bit because I forgot what it was. I think Atreus made some like major mistake, and then everybody was mad about it. Actually, yeah, it was some kind of mistake, and everybody was mad about it or whatever. Um, what happens next? Actually, like I said, I don't remember the order. I'm just gonna kind of hit on the stuff I want to talk about because, Atreus and Ingerboda stuff. I've heard it's super slow and people don't like the whole like obviously it's like a huge story beat. It's like it's an important part that's like story because it's important. You get the character development for Atreus. He becomes a better person. He finds out more about like what it means to be himself. Someone who's around his age who you can talk to being himself and like being whatever. And like he like finds out his fate, but he also finds out that he can break his fate if he like focuses and yada yada yada. Similar thing with Kratos around the same time, I believe, where it's like we go to Kratos and Freya and like they go to meet the fates, and they basically just make fun of the fact that like the reason why you guys are gonna meet your fate isn't because like your fate's destined for you, because all you idiots don't know how to like break character. Like I have a terminology that I use in real life. Brand. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, that is or isn't on brand for this person. They're basically saying you guys have a great brand, and that's why you guys are gonna do exactly what I said you guys are gonna do. Like you're gonna die for your son. Why? Because you don't know how to break brand. You just act like an idiot and do stuff that's going to send you exactly down the path that you're like, oh man, I really don't want to go down that path. It's like saying, it's like when they say like, oh, why would Balder die? Because Freya is gonna hear this news. She's not gonna be able to help herself from doing something that's gonna make him. She's gonna try to make him invincible. It's gonna have an alternate effect. It's gonna make Balder hate Freya, and it's just gonna work in the opposite direction. Where like the harder you push on the issue, the worse it gets. Like if Freya, like I got the idea of the fates is like if Freya would have like at some point let go or like allowed Balder to like live as he wanted or something, they would have avoided that fate. In just the same way, in that same thing, if Kratos would have like accepted that that he doesn't want to get involved with the family business, like the family situation that they had going on, then that would have saved Balder. Or maybe they might have saved Freya. Who knows? But the idea being that basically, if you can't get out of your own way, you're only going to get more in your own way. Like, by trying to stop fate, you're making it worse because like, the only reason you came here is to try to stop fate. And we're saying that you're fated to come here, and you're fated to do these things. So you're gonna need to chill out if you want to stop this stuff. And everybody's just like, to be fair, they're kind of confusing and annoying. So I can imagine, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's like basically the same, like it's a self defeating prophecy. You coming here was part of the prophecy, and what you not you resisting what we're trying to tell you is exactly why the prophecy is going to fall through, because you're fighting what you're fighting the fate is part of your fate, and so that's the problem. But yeah, I thought that section was really cool. I thought it was pretty nice. What else? What else? Oh, the whole Freya, Kratos part where it's kind of like Freya basically enlists Kratos to, like, get her body back after I think Freyr and her talk a little bit, and it's like, all right, fine. I know where to get my body, where to thingy, so I can use my magic in other realms. So, like, come on, let's go. But I still hate you. And then they're walking all the way there, and then it's like, maybe he does get it. He's lost kids too. He's not some like heartless demon who just ruined my life for no reason. Like, he's a person with death. That's Kratos with a beard for you. He's deep. He has like a little bit emotional connection. So after having that conversation, it's kind of like they come to I guess you could say they come to like a pseudo understanding. It's like, oh, like, well, Kratos always had that understanding with her, but Frick begins to like be like, well, now that she can't kill him, she's now like, you know what? I understand. He's deep, and then he helps her out, and so then they're like, you know what? My son's dead. I'm still mad about it, very mad, but I understand that the reason that, one, you're not some heartless demon, and that maybe I am focusing a lot on trying to destroy you and not considering the fact that, like, the reason why my son even was in that position in the first place was because of my ex-husband. And so they team up, and it's like, yeah, a great touch. It's interesting that Freya becomes the new, like, psychic, but gotta get there. Everybody comes back together, and then they're like, we're all going to war, and then it's like, war. And Tyr's like, I'll lead your armies. It's like, yeah. And so it seems like we're heading off in that direction. Oh, and then also, what's his name? Heimdall died. He deserves it, though. Such a annoying guy. So self. I liked his powers, though. His powers were cool, but he was like so dumb. Like, Kratos gave him an out. He said, I won't murder you. All right, just take your stuff and leave. Heimdall, I'm not taking that kind of disrespect. Dies. Didn't help himself. Could not help himself at all. What happens from there? Let's see. Oh yeah. So everybody's like, war, war, war. And then the mask missions. All right, so we got the mask, we got the rift. It's like, I saw something in there. It's like, I think it's something to do with our. That's what I was saying. There's something to do with our something to do with, like, where gods believe in, or where gods come from, where God's supposed to fight for, whatever. I think it's a legitimate concern, but it's just like, why are you so insane? But right, Loki is going on these missions, right? With Thor, and then Dude. The one with Thor, it's really interesting. It's like super, like, it's the awkwardest position, because, like, oh yeah, like, this guy personally killed one of your sons. Also, his dad killed one of your sons. So yeah, but you're like, Daddy said I gotta work with this kid, so I got no choice. Again, mafia boss things. Like, he's like the son. He's literally the son of a mafia boss. So the mafia boss is like, stop being a dummy and go do what I tell you. And it's like, I have my own feelings and thoughts too, And Odin's like, do I look like And so, right, what happens? So yeah, that first mission, it's interesting. It seems like they're kind of connecting, and, like, Atreus is like, because he's making friends with Thrud, he's kind of like, I got a feel for the big love, It's like, maybe we can bring him onto our side. I really thought you were gonna bring him onto our side. like where it's kind of like he's gradually getting him to like chill out. So that was the first mission. Second mission with Thrud, it was cool, but he messes the thing up, whatever. Thrud gets mad at him. He's like, "Oh, you messing up my chances for the Valkyries." He's like, "It's not my fault." It's hard missions, man, and they're hard missions. It's easy with Thor. And so then he goes back to Thor. So then he's like, all right, I'm working with Thor. Thor is drunk. They have the whole fight scene. Thrud's mad at Thor, and Thor's all sad and whatever. I think they get the next masterpiece. I think the mask is almost done. Or I think the mask is done. Something like that. Anyway, Thor's like getting, I forget. His wife, Sif, she shows up. I forget exactly what the conflict was. I don't know if she was trying to get Loki, or if she was. Yeah, I think she was about to get Loki. Like, oh, it's Heimdall's dead. He's the boy. He's evil. And Odin's like, oh, duh. Of course I knew he was betraying me. Whatever. Right? That's the point. So I'm trying to complete my mission. Stop getting in the way. And Thor's getting mad, and so he's about to like literally splatter Atreus, and he just I remember it's like something that sends him back to the tree or whatever. Sends him back. He got the mask. Oh, it's the ultimate W. Great scene. Like you could tell. Sif got chewed out. Thor got chewed out. Like it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. I was here for it, right? We're getting to the end of the game now, right? So, war. Tyr takes the mask. He's like, all right, we're going. And Brock's like, hold on just a moment. What's going on here? She acting a little odd. Why'd you call the kid Loki? Why are you trying to take credit for the kid's work? Something ain't right. And he keeps on poking at Tyr. And Tyr tells him that Odin is supposed to call Bosch. I'm Brock. I was like, no. I tell you, when I saw that, I was like, there's no way. It was a crazy thing. Again, that's why I said don't get spoiled. But yeah, I was like, wow, that beautiful storytelling. Which is part of the reason why my friend's not at this point yet. He hasn't completed the game, but it's part of the reason why I'm kind of like I don't want to spoil him, but I was like the story comes together. I think he's feeling like the story's kind of aimless, which in a sense it kind of is. Like the direction isn't the same as the first game, where the first game is like you have a clear goal. And there's a lot of character development that goes into completing the goal. Well, that comes with it completing the goal. Like they want to do this thing, but they can't. They eat a part of going on the journey to spread the ashes on the highest mountain comes with them coming together and becoming closer as father and son. Second game isn't really necessarily about them coming together as father and son or having like a direct goal. Like it's not. The whole thing has been set up to like fight Odin. Now we know it's gonna happen at the end because there's like it's being set up so much, but the direction isn't so obvious. Where it's like they're constantly doing something for this purpose. It's more like an abstract, like they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're all kind of having like character development moments, and like it's an unclear destination they're heading towards. Where it's like they're heading towards war, but it's not necessarily that they want to go towards war. And it's kind of like part of the journey and everything they're doing is like trying to find a way to not go to war when war seems like the most obvious answer, but the answer that at least for Kratos is like not preferred at all. But with all that being said, Odin stabs the heck out of Brock, man. Sad moment. Sindri's he's all torn up about it. By this point, we've already gotten the reveal that like Brock, if he passes away again, he not only can he not be brought back, but he's not even gonna go, I guess, to heaven. If I remember correctly, I guess not heaven, like literally like Christianity heaven, but like heaven as in like he's not going wherever everybody's supposed to go. He's not going there. Yeah. It's I was like, dang, Brock, he dies, and it's all sad. And Chase feels like it's falling, he runs away, and then Chase goes to go get him. They have like a heart to heart. They talk. It's like dang, this is sad. And like they get closer, and then he's like, this is a loss, and then whatever, and then it's like, and then Kratos is like, I will lead your armies. We're going to war, and they go to war. And it's like, yeah, yeah. They attack them, and they fight, and everything. Um, then we get into the final bosses. Good timing. So we got everybody everybody's fighting together. We got Atreus getting control of his bear form. You play as Atreus and Kratos, but not really Atreus and Kratos together for very long. But that's kind of like going into the idea of like Atreus and Kratos are like Atreus is like I guess you could say for Norse purposes. He's an adult now, so they're becoming separate characters. So you got Kratos. He goes to fight Kratos and Atreus actually. Kratos and Atreus they go to fight Thor first, or like they end up fighting Thor first. Good fight. Good fight. Again, I've never played it, but watching it, good fight. And then it basically comes down to like, again, that bearded Kratos development. He doesn't want to kill Thor, and he doesn't want to kill him because he's like, me and you, we're both gods of war, but we can be better. Be better. And whatever, right? And so after again has a heart to heart with Thor, Thor is kind of like, let me show you the light. You want to like, I didn't hurt your kid. Here's Thor right here. She wants you to be better. We gotta resist Odin, whatever. And so like everybody's there, and he's like, I'm gonna resist him. So Odin shows up, and immediately he doesn't even want to throw his. He's like, get your fat behind to work. And Thor's like, no. So Odin kills him. I was like, hey, yo, he even really tried to try to convince him or nothing. No mental manipulation. He's just like, I got time for this, right? Today's like the worst day ever. I tried so hard to get them to not attack me, and now they're going to war with me. And now my annoying son, my dumb son, now wants to be like BT Dubs. I don't want to work for you anymore. He's like, honestly, let's just put the kibosh on it. Murder. It's like, dang. Sad times. Sad times. Moving on though. Then they fight Odin. I think the Odin boss fight's fine. I guess he fights the way you would think he fights based on like his look and how he's been in the story, where he's like, he's a little tricky and he uses a lot of magic, not so much a physical fighter. I mean, he's strong, obviously, because he's a god, but he's not. He's definitely not built like those Greek gods. Those Greek gods wanted the hands, from my understanding, just from watching the boss fights. Now, should they have gotten the hands? No, because they got done absolutely filthy by original Kratos. No beard Kratos, demon time. No, Satan time. The demon timing just doesn't exist. Satan timing. That man was not here for. He wasn't here for the smoke. He wanted to literally bring the fire to you and set you on fire. That was smoke. Like, it was bad. But yeah, Odin's fighting or whatever. I think eventually gets to the last part, and then if I remember properly, it's like midway through the fight. I think they fight a lot. They get to the bottom level, and it's like they got the mask and they got the portal. It's like, Atreus, you make the decision. Open the portal. Let's see what's in there. And Atreus is like, nah. Not a fan. Throws the mask into the portal. Odin's really mad. They continue the fight. Odin loses. Dang. Oh, well, actually, we'll get there. So Odin loses, right? And so Freya really, really wants to kill Odin. All right. Freya's been on a hate quest for a hot minute. All right. She's like, someone's gotta get blood on their hands for killing my son. If it ain't this guy, because I let it go, and I think he's kind of cool. It's gonna be you. And so in the end, she's like, honestly, I'm at this point in like this revenge. I'm like, honestly, it's not even doing anything to me. I guess we'll just let him live. And everybody's like, yeah, I guess we'll let him live. Oh, and then they take his soul out. And no. It's like, no. I remember. He gets defeated. Atreus tries to talk to him. After he gets defeated, right? He tries to talk to him. He's like, hey, you can do better. You could be better. You could stop being a terrible person, please. And he's just like, I'll never stop. I'll never be better. He doesn't say it like in an aggressive way, but it's kind of like basically the way he says it is kind of like it's in my nature. As I am a person, as I am Odin the Allfather, I am not gonna not be conniving and constantly trying to get one over on my enemies. Um, so Atreus is like, "All right, I'm taking your soul," and so he takes his soul, and puts it in a marble. Please skip that Agarphoda section, I think, because everybody didn't like it. I mean, there's some important stuff in there. They created like Jormungandr and the wolf. No, they weren't. They didn't create the wolf. They created the snake, and then because of that, they learned how to create the wolf. But nonetheless, what's it called? Oh yeah, so they put the thing in the marble, and so they're like, I don't know, I guess we'll just leave his body in there. Sindri walks it. Now, post Brock death, Sindri has been going through the whole movie. He felt abused and abused, but he was like, at least I got my family and friends. He, his only family left in this world, dies because of all these, because of specifically Atreus. He specifically blames Atreus because it's basically like, it's y'all's fault. It's you guys' fault. It's your fault. Like, you guys took so much from me. I've been hurt. I've been damaged, attacked, literally attacked by you and all this stuff. Like, you ruined my life. And so, that's it. And so, Sindri walks on up, right? Like, the entire rest of the game, I post that scene, Sindri never becomes old Sindri again. You'd think he, like, would maybe, like, come back. No, he's just bad. Not bad Sindri, but, like, sad Sindri for the rest of the game. He walks on in, busts through, and he's like, since no one else wants to do it, whoosh, breaks the thing. Odin's dead now. And everybody, no one really says anything. It's just kind of like, well, I guess that's the situation. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, he killed his brother. Sindri was not letting that slide. Like I said, every different character was going on Demon Time after the reason. People were, dynamics were changing. But, yeah, he dies, and then it's like, because they called him Ragnarok, which, I mean, you can make the argument that maybe wasn't necessary, but so they call him Ragnarok. They beat the fire giant, sort of. He's actually a pretty chill guy. He's just like, I just want to love my wife. That's all. It's actually quite sad because when you think about it, it's like, dang, like they made him become a monster, and he'll never come back. And all he wanted to do was love his wife. It's like, dang, it's great storytelling. But yeah, that whole scene with the whole like primordial stuff, like very cool. The two Valkyries, I thought that was a cool fight. Very nice. But yeah, Surtur explodes Valhalla. I believe that's the name of the realm. Which, and then it's the end. Everybody's saved. They have a meeting. They talk. Atreus is like, I'm gonna go become my own man. I'm gonna go do things and save the giants and bring them back to life. Not clear how that works. Oh, clear on the soul stuff, but not clear on like what he means by bring back the giants. Like put them on the animal bodies or something. But there's that. Then you got Kratos seeing like his prophecy for like what's gonna happen in his future, and he cries because he's like, people are gonna worship me. But it's more like it means basically what it really means. It's not literally just crying to get worship. He's crying because like, like I've earned being a good person. I've earned being a good god. Like people are going to seek me out for advice. Like I'm not the monster that people say I am anymore. Like I've come full circle. I'm now worthy of being respected by people. It's like, dang, that was deep. But anyway, and then he lies about it. He's like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. I'm like, dude, that's such a Kratos thing. But yeah, Freya becomes the new boss, new sidekick. I'm not gonna lie. I think Freya's like his girlfriend now. More like wife for old timey sake, but kind of like his girlfriend now. So I'm thinking about it, like maybe, because Freya was really nice to Atreus, and there's those vibes going on there in the first game. The second game, now they're like partners, right? And they've connected a lot, like in game, like if we're talking about like you did all the side quests and stuff, it's like there's a lot of time that is spent where like they spend time together and like they connect about stuff and like he helps her with different problems that she has. So like you can make the argument and then she sticks with him for the rest of the game, posts stuff and whatever. So you can make an argument that they like tie the knot in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to happen that way, but in my head I'm like maybe it's not impossible. But yeah, great game, great game. I just have to finish playing it, but great game. It's gonna be a great time. I think that's about it for this one. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Not too much else to add. With that all being said, thanks for watching this video. There's one more left. I think we're gonna run a good old random video game stuff. I just want to talk about. I'm just gonna talk about random stuff. Talk about different games I like, games I think are coming out that are gonna be cool, game news, consoles, PC, just anything video game related. I'm gonna bring it all together. And yeah. With that all being said, peace. Thanks for watching.